Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 17th day of April, 2021. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, let's see, we've got, there we go, hazardous weather graphics. No areas are illuminated here on the charts. So no warnings, watches, or advisories out anywhere around the state here for the next day or two, or maybe three, hopefully. And so from there, moving on to satellite imagery, you can see here on the visible shot a lot of clear skies over interior Alaska. Looks like maybe pick up some clouds out toward the Arctic coast, especially on the western Arctic coast there, down through the Bering Strait area, give or take. Some of the white there, of course, is the sea ice. That's just north of St. Matthew Island along the Yukon Delta coast. But good sunshine there over the southeast Bering Sea. Western Bering really clearing out from about Shimmy on out to the Komodorskis. But in between, looks like some clouds there over the Pribilofs and some shower activity around the eastern Aleutians, possibly the Alaska Peninsula, but quite light in the rainfall amounts. And then a kind of a stationary weakening frontal boundary there across the central Bering Sea from the Russian coast or eastern Russia there southward across Adak and Atka. But clear skies with a panhandle, North Gulf Coast, and a fair portion of the Gulf of Alaska. Saw nothing but sun today. And some moisture streaming up to Kodiak. May have brought a few scattered showers there to southern Kodiak Island. Nothing significant though. And again, the Alaska Peninsula, about 1/100 of an inch fell there at Unalaska in the last 12 hours, so very light precipitation amounts, maybe 1/10 of an inch fell at Adak, so really precipitation pretty non-existent for the most part around the state. Some light snow going on at Nome that's since ended, and they picked up about 1/10 of an inch water equivalent. Tighter gradient up there along the western Arctic coast, especially around the Point Hope Cape Lisburne area where, let's see, Kivalina saw winds gust to 25 miles an hour out of the south and southwest, while Point Hope had gusts of 40 miles an hour, but Cape Lisburne had reported with strongest winds to 75 miles per hour. So it's a classical wind situation for Cape Lisburne, southwest winds, tighter gradient, all due to the high over the Northwest Territories in the Yukon that's ridging in quite strongly into the central interior, and then the lower pressure back to the west and the northwest. Those winds will slowly diminish here over the next, well, tonight and into tomorrow, but may not end completely. Otherwise, moving on to the forecast for tonight, high pressure holds, dominates the interior again into the northern Bering Sea and much of the eastern Bering. Just very weak disturbances. That frontal boundary out there continues to weaken and continue to produce some light rain or rain and snow mix there for mostly Adak on over to Amchitka, possibly catching Atka, but you may be precipitation free. Dry for the Fox Islands, Pribilofs, maybe some clearing. Up to St. Lawrence Island, winds that gusted to 55 miles an hour at Savunga early this morning or late last night have since dropped off considerably this afternoon and remain light and probably go light and variable tonight there. That could lead to some low clouds and fog around the northern Bering there in that, but definitely dry with light winds, interior dry, light winds. Pick up the clouds as you head southwest into the southern Kuskokwim Valley. Risk of some rain and snow showers, Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula, maybe Dillingham, Togiak. I think it'll be out, or the southwest mountains, mostly missing the Kuskokwim Delta. Stays fair with dry northeast winds. Offshore flow for the Panhandle keeps it cloud free. Maybe some clouds around Yakutat to Cape St. Elias, but no precipitation. And for Sunday, tomorrow, another sunny, warm day. Highs, again, 50s to lower 60s. South Central Alaska, maybe the upper Tanana Valley, possibly. Much like today, temperatures near 60 around Talkeetna at mid-afternoon. And also upper 50s near 60 portions of the Kenai Peninsula as well. Palmer and Big Delta up to, or I'm sorry, not Big Delta. Big Lake was up to about 57 this afternoon. I should read my notes. Eastern town, east of Fairbanks there, Salsa at mid-afternoon was up to 57 degrees. Otherwise, a dry for the Panhandle again, mostly sunny and dry for the Panhandle with light winds and chance of showers. Kodiak Island, east winds maybe 10 to 20 miles an hour. That'd probably occur in the southern part of the island south of the state airport there. Showers likely for the Alaska Peninsula. Chance of rain or snow showers for the Pribilofs, light, whatever does fall. and also maybe some scattered showers for the AKwx area. And winds increase there over the eastern Bering Sea into the western interior. As you can see, tighter gradient, high pressure builds over the Russian Far East, and low pressure now pushing up to south of Shelikof Strait there, Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island. So increasing rain and wind chances for Kodiak Island, same thing for the Alaska Peninsula. And trough swinging southwestward, look for some rain and snow showers for the Pribilos with a little bit of increase in the wind. Stronger winds though along the Yukon Delta coast to Norton Sound. And over the central interior, a couple of weak troughs spreading some snow chances there into the eastern North Slope, eastern Beaufort Sea coast. And then another one dropping down over the top of that ridge out of the Arctic. Brings a chance of snow late in the day to the western Arctic coast. Better chance when that swings in for Monday evening, but amounts will probably be light. Probably see an increase in the winds as well. It stays mostly sunny over the southeast coast with high pressure ridging over the area there. And maybe an increase in the clouds, southern Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula area, maybe Prince William Sound, more likely the North Gulf Coast, kind of a weak trough swinging up, bringing showers into the Barren Islands that could reach Port Moller maybe, possibly, and into Kamishak Bay, but dry over the interior otherwise, and variably cloudy, mostly sunny southeast interior, and a little more clouds out to the west. Anyway, for lows tonight, upper 30s to lower 40s for the Panhandle, near 40 for Kodiak Island, 30s for Bristol Bay, and we're looking at 25 to 35 for South Central Alaska, in the 20s for the Copper River Basin, Valdez, call it 33, in the Kuskokwim Valley there, mid-20s for the Nikolai McGrath area, Sleep Mute, lower 30s, as I mentioned, in Bristol Bay. And gosh, no below zero temperatures. Last time I was working, they were still on the chart there, but they're gone now, just barely getting under 20 degrees there for the Arctic coast, 10 to 20 for the North Slope and into the Brooks Range. Otherwise, lows in the 20s mostly, maybe upper teens, maybe lower 30s for the central interior, and near 30 for the Pribilos, lower to mid 30s for the Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow, again, 55 to 60, call it, maybe even 61 or 2 in some areas for the Susitna Valley, Susitna and Manduska Valley, Kenai Peninsula, well into the 50s, upper 40s, Kodiak Island. And look at those 60s showing up now over the Panhandle, 64 degrees, a forecast high for Juneau, and 69, pushing near 70 there. Klawock, Craig, Prince of Wales Island, mid-60s, Annette, Metlakatla possibly, very nice conditions. Upper 50s for the Kuskokwim Valley, near 60 for the Fairbanks area, and 40s for the Brooks Range, and lower at 30-35 for the Arctic coast, and lower 30s for the near the coast of the Seward Peninsula, Nome, 46, and upper 30s, lower 40s for the Aleutians. And for the lows for Monday morning, call it near 20 for the Copper River Basin, 20s to lower 30s, South Central Alaska, mid-20s to lower 30s, lower 40s Kodiak, and 30s and 40s for the Panhandle, upper 30s Bristol Bay. Interior in the 20s, central interior, teens and single numbers for the Brooks Range Arctic coast, and teens for the for the Arctic coast in the teens. Lower 20s for St. Lawrence Island area, and in the 30s for the Aleutians and the Bering Sea, near 30 for the Pribilos, around 40 for the Alaska Peninsula. Highs on Monday, upper 40s for the Kodiak Island area, in the 50s, South Central Alaska, near 60 Susitna Valley, and in the 50s, 55 to 62 for the Panhandle, mid to upper 50s Southwest Interior, and near 60 again in the Fairbanks area, Delta Junction, Eielson Air Force Base, otherwise 30s from the Brooks Range, 20s for the Arctic coast, lower 30s St. Lawrence Island, and in the Aleutians out west there, upper 30s to lower 40s, and mid 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, pushing into the lower to mid 50s for Bristol Bay.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to the first line weather graphic for Sunday morning, we've got IFR across the North Slope there from the western Arctic coast to the east side, with some VFR there, central coast, and most of the far eastern Arctic coast. Otherwise, more IFR south of the Brooks Range there, Kotzebue Sound from about roughly Kivalina and Noatak Valley on down along the Yukon River, and then right up just a narrow band south of the Brooks Range, VFR Yukon Flats, and some IFR for the Yukon Delta, Nunivak Island, St. Lawrence Island. Also for AKwx, for AKwx looks IFR, VFR for Atka, IFR for Unalaska Island, Alaska Peninsula, Marsville VFR, Bristol Bay into a fair portion of the Kuskokwim Valley, VFR For the southeast quarter of the state, actually the Tanana Valley, although some marginal VFR there, northern Copper River Basin over to the 40-mile country to Eagle. Otherwise, good VFR, Kodiak Island, and just some marginal VFR, eastern North Gulf Coast, Panhandle, VFR. And for the, let's see here, there we go. Mostly VFR for the interior, Sunday afternoon, with even the Arctic coast there, but IFR lingering on the northwest coast up to about Cape Lisburne. IFR, St. Matthew Island, Pribilofs, Fox Islands, western Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR westward, Adak, Atka to Kiska Island, and then a small zone of VFR out toward Chimianatu. VFR for the Panhandle, and moving on to the Monday morning outlook. Again, kind of a mixed mess here of VFR areas of, with IFR mostly over the western interior up to the northwest coast, North Slope, and there over the southern, southeast Bering Sea, Pribilofs, IFR, Fox Islands, Alaska Peninsula, east side of Kodiak Island there, from Sitkinak up to maybe Helsinki, and then Fognak Island, VFR into south central Alaska, Susitna Valley. A little bit of marginal VFR there for the Fairbanks area, and then IFR over toward the border, VFR for the Panhandle. And for the afternoon Monday, better, just some areas of marginal VFR in the interior, and then areas of IFR with some thrown in areas of VFR out over the Bering Sea, but from Adak eastward to about Cold Bay there, Alaska Peninsula, solid IFR, and south side of the Alaska Peninsula, then up the east side of Kodiak, Fognak Island, IFR into the Gulf, but the Panhandle and all of the North Gulf Coast there will stay VFR. And Anatuvik, VFR tomorrow, as well as Adigan, VFR. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. Rainy, same forecast, VFR, windy, ceilings visibilities possibly unlimited, but definitely VFR. Isabel could start out with some marginal VFR early on, then become VFR. Otherwise, Mentasta, VFR, Tanita, looking good. Portage, same forecast, VFR. Chilcoot and White, VFR. And for the freezing levels, we've got warm air aloft, especially developed here since the first of the week. 8,000 feet here over the southeast quarter of the state in the Panhandle, and 2,000 feet up to the northwest, but much warmer than we started the week out as. So Sunday looking milder. And then icing, not much, maybe some light to very isolated moderate rime or mixed icing, Alaska Peninsula to the Pribilofs, otherwise icing free. And looking at the jet stream, we've got northerlies over the western Aleutians, far western Bering Sea, up to 105 knots, Chimianatu, otherwise south to southeast 75, diminishes, turns southerly over the western interior, southwest about 80 knots there for the western Arctic coast. And 9,000 feet, looking 35 to as high as 50 knots just south or near the Trinity Islands there, south of Kodiak Island, 50-knot winds, otherwise 40 knots, diminishing there as it blows across Togiak Bay. Pretty light over the interior, southwest winds, probably 20 to 30 miles an hour approaching the western Arctic coast. Light over the Bering Sea, but northerlies 45 knots, western Aleutians. And at 3,000 feet, light winds for the Panhandle, as well as much interior Alaska, 40 to 45 knots, just cutting across southern Kodiak Island, and then even lighter into Bristol Bay. Pretty light winds with high pressure out over the Bering Sea. And as far as turbulence goes, light to isolated moderate chop, gradually increasing for the western Arctic coast tomorrow, and maybe a little bit out over the western Aleutians. Kodiak Island into Lake Iliamna, possibly looking some isolated moderate chop, and that's about it. After the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Hello, I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite orbiting 22,000 miles above Earth. I can see a lot of cool stuff from up here, and I take pictures of it with my spiffy camera that has 16 different settings. I have such good eyesight, I can see clouds, snow, smoke, smog, and ash, so I can warn you about dangerous conditions and help you avoid them. When storms are brewing, I watch them closely and help with hurricane, tornado, and flood warnings to help keep you safe. And my lightning mapper tracks lightning strikes way up in the sky, even through dark, dense clouds. I also help with search and rescue missions. I listen for distress signals from emergency beacons and tell search and rescue teams just where to find people who need help. But even when I'm keeping a close eye on Earth, I'm monitoring weather out here in space, too. I watch the sun for big bursts of energy, which send waves of radiation toward Earth that can affect power grids, block communication with planes, cause errors in GPS, and damage satellites. Space weather is also very dangerous for astronauts working outside the International Space Station. I warn them so they can get inside where they'll be safe. So the next time you watch a weather report or check your phone for the forecast, remember, that's me. So look to the sky and wave. I'll be here. Whoa! Things are looking pretty bad down there. But don't worry. I'm going to give weather forecasters a heads up and help you stay safe. I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite, and one of my jobs is to keep an eye on Earth's weather as I orbit above. But I'm 22,000 miles above Earth. How does your local weather forecaster know what I see all the way up here? First, I have to figure out what's going on. I point my special camera at the Earth and take pictures of the clouds I see below. My pictures show where the clouds are, but I also take lots of other notes about the clouds. For example, how high they reach into the atmosphere, how much rain they might cause, and when a severe storm may be forming. But I can't keep all of this information to myself. I have to share it with weather forecasters down on Earth. A big antenna is waiting for my call. Since I'm a satellite, I send my pictures and notes in a computer language of ones and zeros. Luckily, the antenna speaks my language. Computers connected to the antenna organize my notes and combine all of the pictures and cloud information and translate them into weather maps. They send a version of the maps back up to me. I'll hold on to these for later. Another copy of the maps is split into smaller pieces. This helps the maps move faster from one place to another. The map pieces are then sent for processing before being sent back up in the sky to a communication satellite. From there, the maps are picked up by antennas at the National Weather Service forecast offices in each region. There are more than 100 offices. I also take the maps that I received and send them out to companies that specialize in making the maps more colorful and better for viewing on TVs and computers. The colorful maps and the maps from the forecast offices then go to your local weather forecaster. The forecaster combines the information from these maps with lots of other information, like model forecast data and radar data, to make predictions about the upcoming weather in your area. And that's how I help you find out if bad weather is going to ruin your afternoon plans. You're welcome. Soon it will be my time to shine in outer space. I'm the GOES-R satellite. That stands for Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite. And the R stands for my order in this series of weather satellites. Like my older siblings before me, I'll do a lot for watching weather, but I'm pretty special because I have a lot of new gadgets. I'm originally from Colorado, but my journey to space has a few stops along the way. I'll be shipped in a very special satellite shipping container to Kennedy Space Center. Moving me around is not easy. I'm over 18 feet wide and weigh 6,000 pounds. And then things get really exciting. I get loaded onto an Atlas V541 launch vehicle. A big rocket! Woo! After Atlas and I blast off together, my compartment separates from the launch vehicle and I continue to climb higher and higher. Then I break away completely and unfurl my solar panel and antenna. After that, I have to use my thrusters to get into just the right position, 22,000 miles above the ground and traveling 1.9 miles per second to keep up with Earth's rotation. And then I can officially start my job along with my fellow GOES sisters, where I take advanced pictures for more accurate weather forecasts, map lightning in real time, and improve the monitoring of the sun's activity. It's going to be so awesome! I can't wait!
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Okay, looking at marine forecasts, or looking at today's sea ice analysis, we've got continuing slowly melting ice in the north of the Forelands there in Cook Inlet and continuing to thin out along the southwest coast, and about the same though north of St. Matthew Island. So moving on to the coastal water forecasts, we've got small craft advisories for the Panhandle tomorrow for east winds at 25 knots, seas running 7 feet, 6 to 7 feet, east 20 on extreme north coast, and northern and central inside waters, northerlies 20 to 25 knots with the small craft advisories inland canal, seas running about 5 feet there. For Clarence Strait, north winds at 15 knots with 3-foot seas. And moving on to Monday, for Clarence Strait, southeast 15, seas 4 feet, Stevens Passage northeast at 10 with 2-foot seas, north 15, Lynn Canal. And for the north coast, looking at west winds 15 knots, seas 8 feet, northwesterlies at 10 to 15 on the south coast, seas running 8 feet. So due to the seas, small craft advisories along the entire stretch of the coastline. For Cook Inlet, north of the Forelands, northeasterlies at 20 knots tomorrow, seas 4 feet, small craft advisories. Southern Cook Inlet, north 25, and northeast 25 for Kamishak Bay for small craft advisories. Also for the North Gulf Coast, looking at easterlies 25 knots there for around Middleton Island, and the western North Gulf Coast northeast at 30. And same forecast for the Barren Islands, northeast winds 30 knots, seas running up to 9 feet. Prince William Sound, pretty light northerlies at 10 with seas 2 feet or less. Call it northeast at 10 for Prince William Sound on Monday. And east 25, small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast. Southern Cook Inlet north at 25, east 25 for Kamishak Bay. East winds 30 knots for the Barren Islands with 10-foot seas. And out for Bristol Bay, northeast winds 20 knots, and the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula, same wind pattern direction, northeast at 20 knots, 5-foot seas. Small craft advisories there on the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula from Cape Sarachev to Castle Cape. We've got northeasterlies at 30 knots, 7-foot seas. Gale warnings from Castle Cape to Sitkinak for northeast 35 knots, Kodiak Island. Gale warnings also northeast 35 knots with 8 to 13-foot seas. And moving out to for Monday, east side of Kodiak, northeast at 25 knots. Gales continue for Shelikof Strait, northeast 35. And then from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev, there, Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, east 30 knots, 13 to 15-foot seas. Small craft advisories for the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, northeast at 25. And the Bristol Bay zone, northeast 30 knots, sustained with 5-foot seas. Fox Islands, north winds 20 knots. Adak and Atka tomorrow, north to northeast 10 to 15 knots, really laying down there. And then north at 30 for Amchitka Island, Kiska, Shimei and Attu, northwest at 20. North 20 knots there from Shimei to Kiska, Amchitka, north 30. Same thing for Adak and Atka. North winds 30 knots, seas 10 to 12 feet. And for the Fox Islands, small craft advisories, Unmak Island, north at 30 and northeast 25 to 30 for Unalaska Island. Southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, northeast at 20. Yukon Delta coast, north at 20. 15 knots out of the north for St. Lawrence Island, northerlies at 20 knots for St. Paul, St. George, and St. Matthew Islands. And for Monday, for the Pribilofs, northeast at 30, north 30 for St. Matthew Island. Small craft advisories along the southwest coast for north to northeast winds 25 to 30 knots, strongest along the Yukon Delta coast, and brisk wind advisories for Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island, where winds will be north at 25. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast for Sunday, west winds 15 knots, and central coast southwest at 20. And again, the windiest area will be like it was today on the western Arctic coast, which is from Point Lay down to, say, Point Hope or so. But tomorrow only looking at 25 knot winds for small craft advisories in those areas, south 15 on down toward the Bering Strait. And then for Monday, Wales to Cape Thompson, north 20 knots, 25 knots out of the west for the western central Arctic coast, and then 20 knots from the west for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. Fair over the interior tonight and dry for just about all of the state. Rain or snow showers possible for the Adak-Atka area being the exceptions. Alaska Peninsula, maybe Bristol Bay, possibly getting up around Dillingham, Togiak there, but mostly clear and very cloudy everywhere else with diminishing winds there in the western Arctic coast. Another trough though swings in, so that might kick the wind up and actually maybe bring some flurries or a chance of light snow to the western Arctic coast tomorrow afternoon. Increasing rain there over the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak, with that low that edges closer to the north but stays pretty nice over the interior areas. Another sunny day for the Panhandle and increasing clouds.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.